that we are taking this opportunity to welcome. Now, you guys understand that you can't see me, but we can see him. And that's always an honor. We have one of our featured children's book authors here with us today, Mr. David Gaslin. Am I saying that right, David?
Yes, sir.
I'm saying he even called me sir, so you know I'm saying it right. Okay, he if he called me sir, you know I'm saying it right. He would have just said yes, or no if I wasn't saying it right. So he called me sir, so you know what that means. David Gasson, one of our featured authors here on the GMAP Broadcast Network, GMAP1.com. I always encourage people stop by GMAP1.com. Click on the tab that simply says featured authors. Click on the children's featured authors as well. And we have a young man here who is focusing on being a story writer for children. And that's a wonderful thing. And you know what? I'm just going to dive in and say, you know what, David? Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you're from if you don't mind.
Not at all. I am from Jacksonville, Florida. I retired from teaching intensive reading at the high school level. I was teaching kids that had reached the 11th and 12th grade and were reading several years behind in their reading ability. And the problem here in Florida is we could pass you along if you had decent grades, but when you came to becoming a senior, if you couldn't pass a timed reading test, then you weren't going to get a diploma. And I was amazed that we had done this, that we had allowed the kids to go along and not fix the problem. So I ended up designing my own curriculum. I ended up being very, very, very successful at getting my kids to pass the year that I was hired. They had none of those kids that were in that program passed. And through my new curriculum, it ended up that in my classes, an average year, we had 94% of those kids pass. So I roughly had 200 kids a year. So every year I was passing 170, 180, 190 kids. So I was very pleased with that. Well, when I retired, I thought I've got to do something else. Then the pandemic hit and couldn't go anywhere else. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write a book and I'm going to write it for my grandkids because I want to encourage them in our negative times when there's so much bullying and so much negativity. I want to give them something positive to read. So I started typing away. Well, when I finished it, I have four grandchildren. They are 10, 12, and 14. There's two 12-year olds. Um, One of my friends asked if he could read it. And I said, yeah, it's a kid's book. You're not going to like it. And he convinced me to let him read it. And so I did. And he goes, you've got to get this published. And I said, I don't think anybody's going to publish it. Well, that was 3 books ago. I now have 4 books that are published. I have 2 more that will come out in the next month or so. And all my books are about always believing in yourself, trying your hardest no matter what. They always have a main character that is battling some kind of problem, whether it's a crooked leg or not being accepted because they're different, all different kinds of issues. But they all keep trying no matter what. And in the end, they succeed. And I think that's a message that we need to hear today, that if you keep trying, sooner or later, you'll succeed.
Yeah, I totally, totally, totally agree. And first and foremost, David, let me thank you. I thank you for accepting the invitation to be a part of our broadcast network family.
Not
I just think it's important for certain information to get out. I don't do this just as, I guess you can say, entertainment purposes. I guess you can say, I like to put information out there as much as possible that has relevance, that's necessary, that's informational, including entertaining. But at the same time, I really love what the information that we put out here that has relevance to it. And let me, second of all, thank you for being here with us today. I thank God for that. And I tell you, man, you can always know, check out, and receive when someone is serious about putting their information out there. You can reach out to some people and they'll say, well, I don't usually make a phone call and I'm not really. Well, how do you plan to get this information out there to the eyes and ears of the people unless you want to keep it in a certain, I guess you can say, a cubby hole and not
Right.
disseminate it to all people? So you have to really be open minded. And number three, thank you for allowing us to be a part of your journey. It's very, very important that people really, really, really accept what it is that you have to offer, and allowing us to be a part of your journey, I think, makes a big difference. Now, there are a lot of people out there that are going to say to themselves, well, I really like the resources that David has to offer us. I really like the conversation and the publications that he has to offer, but I wonder what I'm going to have to do in order to receive copy and or copies of these publications. Is there a certain guideline? Is it located on certain areas? What's the process, David, in order to have people receive copies of your current publication and or publications?
I'm glad you asked because when I first started publishing the books, I really didn't know anything. I just had stories to tell and wanted to tell them. And I wrote it letters and couldn't get anybody that was that interested. You can't really, as a first year author, as a first time author, get much interest generated. So I ended up going with what they call a vanity publisher. And vanity publishers, you pay them, you pay part of the processing fee, so it can be expensive, but I wanted to get my stories out. Well, the problem with that ultimately was when they put the stories out, they were in charge of the retail price. I wasn't. I had nothing to do with that. So I was unhappy with the price of my books, but there was nothing I could do about it. I had signed a contract. So after doing two books like that and really understanding the process, I decided I would start self-publishing. And what that means is I have complete control. The good news is I have complete control. The bad news is I have complete control. So if there's a major screw up, it's my fault. It's my problem. But the good news is I was able to, because of this and because of not being involved in so much of big publishers' expenses, I could control the retail prices and where these books were placed. So as of right now, all my books are on Amazon. You can read them free on Kindle. They are on online at Amazon and online at Barnes and Noble. But as I said, you can read them free on Kindle. I really want to get my story out because these stories I think kids need to hear.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
need to understand that there are different people like them. There are different people that have handicaps. There are different people that other people think are strange or weird. You're not alone out there. And so I want to get my story out to as many people as possible, and I think I'm brand new at this part, but I think this is the way because if I can offer it free or at very reduced prices, I think that's the way to go. Now, the only problem is now it comes to marketing. How do I get my name out? There are thousands of authors, new authors every month. How do I get people to look for David Gaslin? That's the issue I'm with now.
Yeah.
How do I find people? How do I show my books to the right group and they start telling other people? Not only do they read my books, but they write reviews. And the more reviews you get, then you have people checking and they read reviews and they say, oh, look, this person really thought that book was great. I'm going to give it a try. And as I said, if they have access to Kindle, they can even read it for free. If they want to hold the book in their hand, they can do that too.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And one of the things I'm going to share with you as well as our viewers and listeners today is it's very important. Of course, we like leaving reviews for our authors. We like guiding them to places like Kindle, like Amazon. I also like guiding them to GMAP Broadcast Network. But how do we get them there? How do we get them to go to Kindle or go to Amazon or even come to GMAP Broadcast Network in order to first and foremost to recognize that author David Gaslin name. Number two, the publications that he has available. I'm going
Yep,
to.
That's the $20,000, $20 million question. How
Yeah,
do you get people to look?
and there is no one dimensional answer. There is no one specific area. I mean, you can do a billion things, but I will say that it does not hurt to get your information out there at the least most available price to you to as many outfits as possible. Radio, television, internet, social media. Keep your name going as much and often as possible, and basically force people, because everything is based on the popularity contest. If people
Right.
like you, they're going to talk about you. If they don't, they're not going to say anything, or they'll say something negative. Take advantage of opportunities, even such as this one. It's not because it's GMAP, it's because it's a platform that will offer you credibility, and it will offer you it will offer you notoriety. People will start to recognize you, even if it's one person at a time. That's why I'm so appreciative to you accepting this invitation. Now, of course, reviews are important. If in fact you have, or will be, and plan on receiving this live on air conversation, we want you to, if you decide to go to Amazon, if you decide to go wherever it is that you go to purchase and or find out more information about these publications, leave a review, leave a comment, check the like button, share anything that will allow David to get the notoriety that he deserves, as well as other authors. Just make sure you do something to let them know you've been there, so that they can feel appreciated and continue to go these directions in order to disseminate this information to people around the world. Now, what what if someone wants to contact you directly and maybe share with you their thoughts, share with you their opinion, share with you, maybe get some resources from you? How would they go about contacting you on an individual basis to find out more information about David Gaslin?
Good question. Thanks for asking. I have two Facebook profiles. One is just as an author. It's David Gaslin, children's author. And you can go there. You can see all my books. You can reply. You can contact me. You can also contact me directly. Everybody that has contacted me or liked my book online or whatever, I have offered the same deal I would offer to your listeners, which is if you buy the book and like it, you can let me know. I will be happy to send you my mailing address. You can send me your book. I will autograph it and send it back to you. That's something you just don't get. And who knows where this could go, but you could have an autographed copy of one of my books. I'm very open in wanting to be associated with everybody that's reading my books. If I'm going to continue to do this, I need people to be honest. Did you think it was um, too nice? Did you think it didn't cover this subject enough? Would you like to see a book about this? I can't maybe answer all those questions, but my 14-year-old granddaughter, who is my best critic, I would say, because she is so excited about this. And when she comes over, she will often sit beside me as I'm typing on the computer and she's reading along. Well, in one of my books, I had a major character that I felt like they needed to die to move the story along. So I'm typing along and she's dying. And my granddaughter just puts on this great, great, great speech about you can't let her die. She's too important to the story. And I said, well, here's where the story's going to go. No, that's not. She's too important. And she actually convinced me not to let this person die. And I really think at the end of the book, it's better. The story's better. So not only I have all these ideas that are fighting to get out and I'm writing these stories, but if I can hear from people, I read your book and this is what I thought, I really encourage you to be honest with me and tell me, I certainly I'd be happy for you to say this is great. I loved it. But on the other hand, I'd also like for you to be able to tell me, I think you really could have gone further with this character or done this or done that. That's only going to help me because the way I write, and it's probably not the way everybody writes, but I have probably 3 to 4 to 5 books going at the same time, and there are ideas, and I'll write for a while about one, and then I'll hop off and maybe have lunch or whatever, and then I'll come back and I'll write in another one. So I'm continuing to develop these books. It's not like I have a treasure trove of books that are finished and I'm just waiting to put them out, but I am finishing them little by little. And like I said, right now I just published 2 books last month. I have 2 more that will come out in the next month or so. My grandson, who's 12, is very antagonized because most of my books have been geared toward girls. There's action, there's danger, there's all that. But when you write 3 books about fairy princesses, you kind of lose your grandson. So I've got a book coming out that's about a boy that discovers this weird thing out in the woods, and he finds out later, much later, that it's an alien weapon, and the alien comes back to Earth to search for him and to get his weapon back. So I'm writing that specifically for the boys out there. So I'm trying to be well rounded. I'm trying to write books for the boys and the girls. It's just that my fairy princess story, I wrote that story and loved it. And I came to the end of the book and thought, I need to know more. I want to know what happens next. So I kept writing, and another book popped out. And so then I finished that, and I still hadn't told the story. So I had to write a third book. I never intended to make any of my books trilogies, but that's what happened to this book. And that one has gotten a number of good and positive reviews. But a part of that I attribute to the artwork. I have this great, great, great young man that just went off to college, and he sent me. I asked everybody, can you draw a fairy and or an elk to just give me an idea of what your thoughts are, because I want to see what your picture is of my characters. Well, I really didn't want to talk to this kid or be with him because he was 17 years old. And I thought that's too young. He's in high school at the time, but he ends up sending me this picture, a spectacular picture. Look on Amazon and look up Through Amelia's Eyes. And what you'll see as the cover is actually the picture that he sent me to audition to be my illustrator. He does a spectacular job. And I will often say, here's my idea. And he will draw several different ideas that he had, and his are even better than mine. I have a new one coming out that just came out, rather, sorry. It's called The Witch's Last Wish. And in it, there's people on either side of a marsh, and there's this 18 or 20-foot long crocodile that swims back and forth between them. And one of the pictures, I didn't end up using it, but I'm just giving you an idea how he thinks. One of the pictures that he sent me was the view from underneath. So you're looking up underneath the crocodile through the water into the people above. He just really thinks outside the box, and no matter what I give him to do, he does a spectacular job. The next book I have coming out has a dragon on it.
Yeah.
And he's asking me all these questions. Does it have horns? Does it have scales? Does it have long claws? Stuff I never thought about. I just said, I want a dragon, and this is him making it the best it can be. So I always feel like the part of getting the person to pick up a book or look at the book is the cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my illustrator has done a spectacular job on everything I've asked him to do.
All right. Well, kudos.
That's how I'm trying to get it out.
Kudos out to your illustrator, and of course, you answered my final question, and that was what's next. So we pretty much already know what's next. You're gonna keep on doing what you're doing and trying to entice, encourage, and inform people to be a very, I guess you can say, supportive, letting them know that it's necessary, it's mandatory to get this information out there. I thank God that you made that decision to allow us to assist you. Now we are not the only, we are not the prime, but we are one that does not mind helping you get this information out there. You have our number. We will be contacting you and letting you know where we go from here. And of course, we want you to understand that use that number, because if you call and let us know that we can assist you in any way, shape, form, or fashion, the answer will always be yes, and you will never have to ask us twice. We thank God for you, David. We appreciate you. We want to be of assistance to you. And I'll be reaching out to you shortly and letting you know where we go from here with this conversation, as well as conversations that are yet to come. But we do appreciate you taking your time out on today, being here, and allowing us to be a part of your journey. GMAP Broadcast Network featured author David Gaslin. And of course, you can stop by GMAP1.com. Let me slow down and make sure if your pencil lid broke, or if your eyeliner ran out, you broke that, or if you ran out of ink, GMAP1.com. And that is the number one, not the word one. GMAP1.com. Click on the tab that simply says featured authors, or in this case, children's featured authors. Okay, it's a featured area on our network site that focuses on children's authors. Click on it. You'll see a copy of this current flyer that I'm showing you on our television screen. You'll see it in its entirety. Click on it. It will take you to the necessary location to find out more information about the author as well as the publications. We want to encourage you to show your support in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Let the author know that he is not doing what he is doing in vain. Let him know that you appreciate what he's doing. Let him know that you also support what he's doing. One person can lead to a million. You be that first person. All right. In the meantime, we appreciate you. We appreciate all of you who are out there paying attention and showing us love, care, concern, and support for our featured authors spotlight. Until next time, we want you to continue to be blessed and be a blessing. We look forward to hearing from you and connecting with you soon, David. So until then, you continue to do what you are doing in order to get this information out there to the eyes and ears of the people, okay?